let's start with our presentation. And please participate because actually it's not a lecture, it's not a talk, and it's just a discussion with an open end. So, to introduce myself, we start this event now. There was a lot of introduction to the topic. I don't think I can add much more to the insights of the speakers, but my name is Desislava Pancheva. I'm based in Sofia, Bulgaria, and I've been um, working in the cultural creative sector and the cross between education, technologies, and community, grassroots communities in Bulgaria and across Europe for more than, well, already, I guess, around 15 plus years for sure. My professional journey started as a creative. I graduated in the Instituto Europeo di Design in Milan in visual arts and photography. I have a bachelor there. And afterwards, I did a few specializations and a residency in Zurich, in Switzerland, where I discovered my love for artist books and community, grassroots communities, which are collecting, sharing, and making books as a means of communication. Then I was invited to join the Creative Europe program, where I was head of the Bulgarian culture desk for 6+ years, which gave me an institutional view on the uh, possibilities and on the offered tools and instruments which the public funding and the states and the governments and the European Union are providing in order to support the development and the preservation, of course, of uh, our global, let's say, common culture. As you know, the European Union is it's an experiment. It's a beautiful experiment. It's a great experiment, but it is an experiment, a political, a social, and um, on many levels, a cultural one. Because even though we share values and missions, and we're trying to create a global and a common market, a common ground of communicating and preserving our uh, humanitarian, and human causes, we speak different languages and we come from different backgrounds, historical and cultural. This is very important to understand. And being Bulgarian and a Balkan and Eastern European, even though I'm part of a global community and worked in the European Union, I understood that first of all, translation, but not only linguistic and cultural and values and political, is very difficult, and it's one of the biggest challenges, which I transfer also in my current work, like my current mission. For Hecho por Nosotros, I've been working in the common groups, in the global common group. So I'm a leader there with a team of three other people which are not were not able to join the meeting. So coming from different places in the world, we try to connect with the global community and to see the overlapping the places where we overlap and where we can share our knowledge and foster our communities. Obviously, there's differences. We have different governments. We have different uh, financial possibilities, and everything in the reality is different where we live. But human beings have always been able to communicate and to collaborate. It's our, how can I say, it's in the heart of our existence. So, briefly, I would like to introduce Maya. Is a she's, like, let's say, presenting herself, but also I know her as a person deeply interested in the connection and disconnection, probably, between technology and anthropology and social studies. So she works at the intersection of those. And she's currently working in a, corporation, but has very also extended knowledge and experience with grassroots NGOs. And she's gonna say this in her research, let's say, persona, because we all have different personas and we're trying to juggle with that. So today our talk comes with a challenge, Maya. I don't know, as I'm switching on the screen, you could really add something to your biography.
Yes.
The title of our conversation or the discussion comes from one of my favorite philosophers and feminists and activists from the past century. So Audre Lorde, from a famous speech he made in 1979, even though the context is different, and I decided to flip the title around. So the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. And of course, the question that comes with this: what will happen, or what should happen if we become the master? So we take the position of the mastery and control. I
Yeah.
invite you, Maya, to.
Yeah. Um, that's a very important question, and in my case, connects directly with my background and interests. What I want to add here to my introduction is that I've started researching let's say, the human computer interaction, but from a social scientific point of view. Many years ago, it was 2004 when I started my PhD. And actually, yeah, my program was very critical on the intersection between social psychology, I'm a psychologist, anthropology, and philosophy. And I actually specialized in that. My thesis was on Bulgarian case. I mean, the torrent appropriation as a social practice. It came out pretty nice, but the thing is that I've been always interested in that, and that actually motivated me to switch when I had to decide whether to stay in academia or switch to private sector. I decided to switch to private sector, thinking that user research that was already emerging, but in certain location, US and UK, to actually be able to contribute to something, the design and the development of a product or service, whatever, that I was searching for more direct impact on something that is supposed to help people support some needs, because that's the purpose of technology. That's how everything started with the internet, right? Which I think is, I guess we can say that it's one of the major disruptors in modern history. And now we face the same issue with the AI, but so I try to like make some, I don't know, make maybe comparisons. And I'm concerned about how AI is approached right now from corporations. But of course, the point is that the tech development started from grassroots activities. I mean, in the early days, it was ARPANET, governmental project, was built for do something else, but then people started talking. That's how they found social value, because people were actually searching to interact. And of course, the important point when you compare with the AI is that back then, the main discourse coming, of course, from technocrats, also scholars and policymakers, was that how the models of adoption, how the institutionalization, and even the emerging uses in certain societies, meaning the technologically developed societies, because this tech came from there. The same happens now with the AI, right? So the point was that they would like assume that these usages and interpretations are paradigmatic, and it's going to be sooner or later reproduced everywhere. So that was the main discourse, but then it's kind of utopian, right? That kind of like, okay, we live in a uniform society and the impact is going to be generic. But that changed really soon when other disciplines came into the game and the discourse, like social scientists mainly, and people from humanities researching actually how different communities, let's say, actually interpret, adopt, and integrate internet technology in their lives. And this is where I've been working for the last, I mean, in academia, and that's also my personal and professional interest. And so, yeah, that was the vision that shifted because other disciplines were integrated in the tech development to the point where, I mean, this was like the leading force and also provoked a change in how technology was developed, right? Because we have a term in social sciences, social software, as a movement that actually provoked the shift from how traditionally tech was developed, meaning you develop something, you ship it to the user, and they have to figure it out. So the social software was like basically um, the movement towards placing the user in the center, because I don't know, for example, Meta, you like it or not, but Meta has developed a great product based on focusing and paying attention to what the users do, because without the users, the product would not exist, right? So what I'm thinking lately is that I see now this hype that a few companies are create around AI, and AI is, I think it's interesting, but I kind of see similarities of the hype from early ages of internet. So we are now in this point where we have to think about how we could use this software for our own advantage and not just follow what technocrats are telling us that we can use it for. So we can kind of have to reappropriate the tech for us. So when very interesting times, I say, but I don't see enough discussion around these topics. So I really found this event very interesting and important to make emphasis on how can we actually use this to support local communities, because that's what we need to do in order to preserve the paradigm of tech supporting us and not the other way around, so to speak. But I also think that we're at the beginning of this journey and everything is yet to come. But I think it's important to have these conversations because I'm pretty sure that AI will impact heavily the society, and that's why I think it's a strong disruptor, not only in terms of technology, but also in terms of how we think, behave, and feel, meaning social, cultural, and whatever aspect of our life, right? So,
So
because if
Maya,
I is a specialist, I'm not going to explain the types of AI that I was meaning to explain. I'm going to just highlight one thing. I would like to hear what he thinks about that. My impression, that's just an impression and a theory, that of course there's a marketing strategy from these certain groups and companies that they release their products to the global population, but the global population lacks education around technology. That's well known, I believe. So I believe that I witnessed like a bit of a confusion between generative AI and general AI. So that's another point that I think it's important to somehow highlight. I don't know how we can do that, or how can somebody's writing, maybe it's Ivan. Okay, Ivan.
I don't know if Ivan's writing. I'm just suggesting we follow a little bit our because the
Yeah,
time
yeah,
is limited. I don't know what time actually we're supposed
yeah,
to.
I'm gonna just finish just this thing. I was wondering about what Ivan thinks about that, this confusion, whether he sees it or not, because I do believe that general population actually perceives AI right now as capable of thinking and reasoning, which is not the case. And that's not even a hypothesis, it's a reality. So the type of AI we have now could perform certain tasks, which requires training, and the best way to use it is to focus on certain domains, right? And what I miss also in the current discussion, like global current discussion, is about ethics. That was something that some people mentioned in the previous conversations. This is still on. I have found very little sources and organizations that work in that direction. I also think that the European Union is right now the only regulator that does something in this direction. But I think no matter the regulations of the institutions, I think whoever uses AI or builds their own AI has to think about ethics, which means basically thinking about transparency, also data privacy, the social and environmental impact, and I would add also cognitive biases, but maybe that's too specialized. I'm also biased, but I cannot help it. But it's important because sometimes AI reproduces cognitive biases and prejudices. So I think these are the most important things to consider when you use or you build your own AI that I don't see as a discussion right now. And yeah, that's what I want to say basically, that these are very important points, and I would congratulate any effort to use these tools for local empowerment of activities of any kind. I think that's the best way to use it, right? And I think you
I
have some examples to share.
I think yeah, the best way maybe to do this discussion would be also through the examples we selected. I really
Exactly.
narrowed
Yeah.
them down. So, just to say that, yeah, obviously now, especially with the extreme fast development of the technology and also its socialization becoming more and
Yeah.
more sociable in a way that there's so many different tools. They're becoming more and more affordable, free, of course. People are sharing tools and instruments to create different platforms, and these are growing into more and more possibilities, of course. And this
Yeah.
is normal, it's a process, but this is a normal process. And as you said, also with the early stages of internet, and then not so early, because
Yeah.
actually we are not so early, we are quite ahead of the time
Yeah.
and in the development of the technology. So what I really wanted to focus now was some really good examples and how can I say the honest things that I see about people trying to use the tools, learn using the tools, and also we talk about grassroots communities, so
Yeah.
social enterprises or NGOs or preservation, you know, associations or humanitarian organizations, doesn't really matter. So it's for the common good.
Yeah.
Those here I see we were talking earlier with Maya about the contrast between generative and AI versus general AI. So maybe we can also jump on that. I don't know, Maya, what do you think? Or then we can straight go to the five principles for
Yeah.
the ethical AI, which were also discussed earlier. So I would definitely say transparency, of course, and explainability. As I
Yeah.
said, the ability of the communication to be communicate properly to the community or to the to the target group we are working
Yeah.
with, because quite often when we're working in a global NGO which is focused or mission driven to preserve or to help, this can also become it's very risky because quite often this sort of support and effort turns into tokenism, and we talk
Yeah.
about other people's problems and we kind of subjectify them, even though we don't really share the same the same needs. So how we explain what we're doing and in the language of those that we speak to, I think this is important. Then accountability and redress, of course, I call it redress, but it's just the way that we um, when we name the institution or we name an entity which is responsible, so there should be a governance in terms of responsibility comes with appointed uh, appointed positions. Just like in any project we work with and in any structure, this is important. Hierarchy is important, even though grassroots organizations are quite often they're really on a horizontal axis. They don't have structures which are vertical, but with the tools and the AI, I believe this governance should exist in a way of responsibility, not
Yeah.
for not in terms of power, but responsibility should be very clear. I don't know, Maya, if you had
No,
some.
I totally agree. I mean, I was thinking about past projects that I have done with open source tech tools and teams that create, operating systems for my mobile phone, etc. I did this survey, large scale survey. So one of the things that people would appreciate a lot when selecting between tools, and I think that's important even for this concrete situation, is that people actually want to find information about who does what, like, uh, I guess the commitment, let's say, of the organization, right? So, and that will be one of the main reasons and aspects that they would consider whether choosing which thing to use, product, service, whatever. So I think that's very important. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
but in another way, I also feel sometimes we tend to overcomplicate
I
this.
know, totally.
These people, they, as I said, people, communities, our ancestors, people many years before the age of digital technology and internet. Hi, Isabella.
I know, I know.
So please join us in in this discussion. So I believe it's also risky that we start to kind of patronize and
I
to talk
know,
about our, especially about indigenous crafts people, because actually the knowledge they carry is the data sets and
I
the
know.
the transferability. It's the oldest tool we have. Crafts carry the knowledge of the
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. It's a very thin line, and I think these are the aspects that are
what
super
do you
tricky to work on in the right way and to solve.
what do you think about then the community consent and the data sovereignty? This is something I'm very much interested in and
Yeah,
working on.
that's a very important issue. I have this issue in my everyday life as a researcher for corporations, and I face this every day from corporations expecting from me to reach people without consent. Imagine. So I know for sure it's a fact that they don't care about consent, but they do care about consent. So if somebody aims to build something that is ethical, I think they need to consult with the communities who are providing the data sets for this tool, because that's the case with the AI. And they have to explain very well, right? The usages and everything, just to make sure that they're ethical. And I think people, if the tool is aimed to help other people with same interests, I'm pretty sure people would give the consent, right? But you have to have the consent at least. That would make it useful, especially in these concrete cases of building something so specific that will actually build a library of knowledge that is maybe not even registered in a written form. I don't know, I'm thinking loud here. Because I know indigenous communities, they don't have everything registered, like procedures to build, I don't know how they design, all these things that it's important, right? I mean, the technology
Actually,
would offer them
this
an
is
yeah, sorry.
no, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm just like it's really you get me thinking that quite often when people and this is normal, being outside of an Hecho por Nosotros, I had a different view of the situation. Now, like let's say almost 6 months or 5 months into this project, and I'm getting more and more informed, of course. It's been 17 years that Adriana and her followers and team have been doing this. So for 17 years, you can imagine what kind of progress and development they've gone through. But I'm quite new in this, and I see that often people mistake when talking about indigenous communities and crafts, of course,
Yeah.
like
Oh,
traditional
yeah.
crafts. We think of these people like having the need of preserving their knowledge or sharing it with others or making nice presentations so the next generation can follow the craft. And to be honest, what I was really interested to find out is that, yeah, this is one way to
Look at
put
it.
it, but mostly these people will never be looking to, let's say, share their craft with anyone who is not organically
Yeah. Oh,
interested in them.
definitely.
So this is something that we as educators and civic educators and networkers and like supporters would like to do, and this is very important. Actually, what the indigenous communities are doing, it's more important for our survival, for the world that we live in, for the knowledge of our students, for our kids, because they have been disconnected with this knowledge, and this is going quite obvious into the breakout rooms we will close in
Yeah, they're
40
gonna like cut us out. Can we postpone
Isabel.
just to finish at least the?
I don't know
Mm,
I can manage this. I think it's Martina's.
yeah, but it's really strange to end on these terms. Anyways,
I
Why?
don't think they've been talking for 30 minutes.
yeah, me
No, I
neither.
think it's because they have a limit, like a little groups.
Hmm. Okay, so I don't know, they'll probably figure something else and you contact us. But the presentation will be available